Good Saturday afternoon, everybody. It is kickoff day eve for Sundays, man. And it is just so great that football is back. We had a hell of a game Thursday night between the Lions and the Chiefs. But now the meat of the week is finally upon us. And we're going to be talking about the game here. I am Mac, and I am back with another live stream, friends. And hopefully this is number 1 of 17 that I hope to do all season long, as I'm trying something else this year, as I'm going to try and get a fan of the opposing team to collab with me the day before each game. We're just going to talk about the game. And I was able to come up with it. As to my right, a guy that I've known on YouTube pretty much ever since I've joined YouTube and ever since I've started making content. He's a proud representative of 49er faithful, Mr. CG Ruthless. How you doing, brother?
Doing good, man. Yeah, dude, it's been long overdue. Wanted to get you on for quite some time, but I'm glad we made it happen. But yeah, dude, this is going to be a physical matchup. And talk about Thursday's game. That was a crazy game. That was interesting. Like the Lions, like the underdogs, right?
Absolutely, man. Like, if you saw my predictions video, like, I took Kansas City Thursday night, but I had Detroit with the points. So, like, it wasn't a total loss for me. But, yeah, man, like, I've been saying all offseason, Lions are my surprise team of the season. And I know it's only been 1 week. I know it's only been one game. But, wow, that run game they had, the defense they played against Kansas City, pick 6 on Mahomes. Granted, it should have been an easy catch by Kadarius Toney, but Lions going to Kansas City and upset the champs, man. What a game.
Yeah, they did. It was interesting. There's a lot of the outcome that was kind of interesting. Like, you know, they're probably going to make excuses about Travis Kelce not there, but, man, Kadarius Toney just couldn't catch the ball.
Nope. And I see that, like, Giant fans all over
Trashing
YouTube are, yeah, you know, because Kadarius Toney was talking mad shit about the Giants all offseason, and he only had 1 total receiving yard Thursday night. So
not that good, man.
Oh, man. All right, so this is how this stream is going to go for the chat here. So me and CG, we're going to be live for 90 minutes here. The stream's going to end at 4:30 my time. Of course, he's on the West Coast, so he's 3 hours behind me. And so for the first 45 minutes, we're just going to have an open discussion. As you can see the ticker at the bottom of the screen here. Him and I are just going to talk about the matchup and our keys to victory, some X factors that'll stand out on the team, you know, et cetera, all that good stuff. And then when the discussion's over with, we're going to give – each of us are going to give final predictions for the game. And then we're going to leave it up to the chat for like an open Q&A. Ask either one of us questions, you know, just in general about the game. And we're just going to have like an open Q&A for the last 45 minutes. So that's how this is going to go. I was gunning for 2 hours, but CG has something else to do in a little bit, so we had to shorten it up a little bit. But yeah, you know, just trying to benefit with his time as well. So let's just go over the history of this matchup real quick, as I'm a sucker for historical stuff right here. So this is going to be the 13th all-time matchup between the two right here. Last time these two played was, I believe, week 3 of that 2019 season, where it was the first full week where Big Ben missed the season with that elbow injury, and he needed pretty much Tommy John to recover from it. Steelers gave the 49ers a good fight. They forced 4 turnovers on San Francisco, but the Niners came away with a 24-20 win in 2019. First time they ever met, you got to go all the way back to October 14th of 1951, well before any of us on this stream were even born. 49ers took it 28-24. The largest victory between these two came in 1954, a 31-3 49er win over the Steelers. And then overall, the Niners have won 12 out of the 22 matchups, and they lead at both venues by a score of 6-5. So that's just a little bit of history between the two right here, as they don't really play each other a whole lot often. So just wanted to get that out of the way. So let's get this discussion, started with, as we're just going to talk about the overall matchup. And, CG, what do you think about what kind of a matchup that this game tomorrow afternoon is going to bring to the table?
I think it's going to be more about the trenches, because I think it's not going to be a high-score game like everybody says. I think you're going to see more of the defense more than the offense. Like, I had some thoughts, I don't know if it's going to rain this Sunday or whatever the weather is in Pittsburgh, but anytime you play a physical team, it's going to be a lot harder to score against a good defense. So I expect it to be more of a defensive battle more than an offensive battle.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with you on that right there. I mean, offense is definitely something that is going to – I mean, you have to have offense to win in today's league, no doubt about that, especially when the rules are so predicated around the quarterback, of making the quarterback's life as easy as possible. But when I take a look at these two teams, they kind of mirror each other a little bit, if you know what I mean, because, you got two young quarterbacks going at it with Kenny Pitt. I guess you could say both of them are in their sophomore season too, because wasn't Brock Purdy Mr. Irrelevant last year?
Yeah, he was last year. He played 8 total games, started 8 total games. And if you take away the injury, he had a really good season. But, I mean, Kenny Pickett, he's not too far off. Usually a rookie quarterback goes through those growing pains, and you expect maybe the second year they make the leap. So I can see Kenny Pickett maybe making a big leap this year.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, back to what I was saying. So you pretty much got a matchup of two young quarterbacks that are both in their sophomore season, and they don't really have full seasons underneath their belts, so they're kind of in the same situation. The only difference is when they were taken in the draft. We took Kenny Pickett in the first round last year, and obviously Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant because you took Trey Lance, but you were still rolling with Jimmy G to be your starter. But then Trey Lance missed all of last year pretty much. Jimmy G played some of the year. He got hurt, broke his leg, I believe it was, some kind of injury that kept him out for the whole season. So you're pretty much forced to go with Brock Purdy for the rest of the season. And in that short sample size of what Brock Purdy had, he did pretty well, in my opinion. The 49ers won every game, I believe, when Brock Purdy was the starter. And obviously, people will say, well, that's just Kyle Shanahan's system because, you can plug and play any kind of quarterback in his system and he'll flourish. And, he has, CMC in the backfield now. He's still got Deebo Samuel. He's still got George Kittle, so-and-so. But, with me, if he's going out there and he's doing his job and he's not making, he's not making mistakes, and he's being productive on offense, you got to give him credit for something like that. Whereas Kenny Pickett, we were rolling with Mitch Trubisky for the first portion of last year. And then, again, in the Jets game that we had last year, offense is still sputtering because Mitch Trubisky, I mean, he's had chance after chance after chance to revitalize his career. It's just not working out with him. So second half of the Jets game is when Kenny Pickett came in. And granted, he had the rookie mistakes too. He had some unfortunate interceptions, but he really turned around in the second, down the final phases of last season, really upped up his mechanics in preseason and in training camp as well. So Steeler Nation is very high on Kenny Pickett this year. I am one of those guys as well. I've been saying it all off season. So tomorrow, I mean, it plays in what I was saying about the offense. Offense definitely has to have some kind of a factor tomorrow, but you got two quarterbacks that are both going up against physical defenses.
Yep.
Kenny Pickett going up against Nick Bosa, the newly extended Nick Bosa.
Yeah, the highest paid guy.
That's right. Before that, it was TJ Watt.
Yeah, he wasn't. It was Aaron Donald. It was Aaron Donald who got the highest paid for the non-quarterback position. But yeah, TJ Watt was the highest edge rusher for sure.
And then we extended Minka as well, and he's the highest paid defensive back in NFL history now.
Oh, yeah.
So you got Kenny Pickett going up against that. You got our backfield going up against, a big four-man front that the Niners like to throw at you, which is where I think Fred Warner's going to come into play. He's always, a big factor on that defense right there. But then you take a look at San Francisco, it's kind of the same thing where you got Brock Purdy going up against TJ, who mainly attacks from the right side. So I think the right side of your O-line definitely has to be on their toes for tomorrow afternoon. And then CMC is going to be going up against one of your former guys in Quan Alexander that we just signed.
Ooh.
And you can say the same about Najee and Jalen Warren for us, going up against one of our former guys in Javon Hargrave.
Oh, yeah.
And also, you got to figure Nick Herbig and Keanu Benton, who we drafted, they're in to fix up the run defense as well, seeing that Tyson Allow is pretty much a non-factor for us now, and he's getting up there in age, even if he was still productive. So there is a lot of similarities between these two, the way that I see it going into tomorrow. That's what I said before, like they kind of mirror each other a little bit.
Yeah, it's like a same image. Like you want a physical type defense. Pittsburgh and San Francisco have something in common. If you are a smash mouth team, San Francisco and Pittsburgh have that same mentality. Like the coaches, the culture, the way they build their culture, it speaks for itself. The history of the franchise, it's a historic franchise between both teams. But if I had to make a strong argument on a number one team in sports, I would put Pittsburgh above the rest of the NFL league because because longevity, like ownership, like you don't change coaches. The last 50 years, you've only had 3 head coaches and players have bought into this program. Like Mike Tomlin hasn't had any other losing season except last season, if I'm mistaken. He's been consistent. Nope. He's been very consistent. And that's where I kind of give Pittsburgh their props, bro. Like, I think out of all the franchise, I would pick Pittsburgh over the rest of those other teams, like the Packers and the Cowboys and the Niners in general, because I feel like Pittsburgh has built a great culture. Like, they are a blue chip worker. They are a team that's going to prove otherwise. They're a physical mindset. They're going to come and beat you. And I can respect that.
Well, I definitely don't disagree with you right there, man. I mean, longevity, not to sound, subjective or anything, but like I don't disagree with you. But like, we've been around since 1933, so longevity definitely does have something to do with it. But then again, you also got to take a look at, Green Bay and Chicago, who've been around for a little bit longer than we have, and they've built up a foundation as well. But then I take a look at other historical franchises, like as much as I can't stand them, the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
And then I take a look at you guys as well. I said at the beginning of my preview that I put out the other day, I don't know why, but like the 49ers have just always been that team that I've just always respected and I've always had an admiration for, because they have rich histories as well. Like obviously they were the team in the 80s. They had amazing teams back then. Joe Montana winning 2 rings even before Jerry Rice came in. And as a Steeler fan, I can say thank you for keeping the Bengals down not once but twice in the 80s.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think I said the 84 49ers, in my honest opinion, they're the greatest NFL team of all time. I mean, sure, the 85 Bears were phenomenal.
Yeah, ferocious.
Best defense of all time, no doubt. But the thing that separates that, in my opinion, the 49ers had both offense and defense.
Yeah, they did.
When people talk about the 80s 49ers, they just say, oh, Jerry Rice and Joe Montana. All 5 times the 49ers won the Super Bowl, they had a top 3 defense.
Yeah,
I believe in 84, they were the number one offense and the number two defense.
Yeah, in our past history, they've overlooked our defense. And past years, Ronnie Lott was our tone setter and a bunch of other players. But there was a lot of guys that nobody even talks about to this day. Some of this young Niner generation doesn't know who number 46 was. I mean, Tim O'Donnell, he was one of our Pro Bowl safeties. This guy was a baller. When he came into the Niners in 1993, we were going all in. We were building a culture, and that's when we got Deion Sanders to win the 94 Super Bowl, which, I was about 7 at the time, but it kind of makes it sound like, it's been a long time since we won a Super Bowl. But when you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, man, you just think of a great defense. You think of a bully. Like you had the Raiders and the Steelers back in the rivalry where they were the bad guys, but they were like a team that just wasn't going to give you those yards. You had to earn it. So it's like, I looked at the 76 Steelers defense. They had a really great defense. And I was like, they didn't give up the most points, even though the Raiders won the Super Bowl that year. But you got to give credit to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They had a really outstanding good defense.
Something you got to know about that 76 team. The Steelers started off that season 1-4, believe it or not. Started off 1-4. Gave up 28 points total for the rest of the season. 5 shutouts. A mark that wasn't broken until the Ravens tied it in 2000 with their legendary defense as well. But, it just goes to show you, man, even in today's league where the quarterback are the darlings of the NFL, you have to have a defense to win too.
Yeah.
And like I said, all 5 times 49ers won the Super Bowl top 3 defense, even that 94 team. I mean, technically they won it in January 95, which was a couple months before I was born. But yeah, man, it just seems like to me that everyone just kind of overlooks defense a little bit because Steve Young in that Super Bowl 29 matchup with the Chargers absolutely lit up the Chargers, no denying that. But you got to know that defense was just top-notch that year as well. The 94 49ers have to go down as one of the most overlooked championship teams of all time.
Yeah, because Steve Young finally got to be the starter. He finally got to get over the hump a little bit because he was Montana's backup for a while. And he had lead titles before he won a Super Bowl, because he was coming into his own in 92 before we traded Montana. And then Steve Young started to elevate to become his own because Steve Young was coming off the Buccaneers where they gave up on this guy and they went with Vinny Testaverde. But the thing was, it was something special. Steve Young threw 6 touchdown passes. Montana threw 5 touchdown passes, I think, against the Broncos in the Super Bowl, if I'm mistaken. But that was the most lopsided Super Bowl win of all time, was going against the Denver Broncos, 55-10. That was like a massacre. That defense had to be that great to shut down John Elway.
Yeah, definitely. And, something about the 89 season for the Steelers, we actually opened up that season, get ready for this, losing at home to the Browns 51-0, which is by far the worst loss that the Steelers have ever had. Very next week, we go down to Cincinnati, get our doors blown off by the Bengals 41-10. So we start off the season 0-2, getting outscored 92-10 in 2 weeks. How do you possibly recover from something like that? That's just where the aura of the Steelers come in. It's like, okay, that happened, but we're gonna just somehow find a way to recuperate, and we're gonna not give up on the season, and we're just not gonna submit. And Chuck Noll goes on this incredible run. He gets the most out of that team that we had in 89. I mean, obviously it was a little bit before I was born, but I know all about it. And we're sitting there halfway through the season at 5-4. And then we end up the season 9-7, making the playoffs, take out the Titans, who were the Oilers at the time, in the first round. And we almost went into Denver and beat John Elway for a second time. that 89 season to me, it's kind of like a microcosm of how the Steelers are in a nutshell. It's like they suffer some really bad setbacks and they have some really bad games, but they just always find a way, to turn it around. And it's just the never say die mentality that this franchise has had for so many decades now.
Yeah, they've been around a long time. They are your bullies of the franchise. I think they're the bullies of the NFL because they invented the physicality. They got to smash people in the mouth and let them know, hey, you're not going to get this type of yards towards me. You're not going to get this, Pittsburgh kind of gave you the attitude, the blue chip type city, it just kind of feels right for the Steelers. The name, the factory, the whatever you guys have in that city, man, it just represents what you guys are. So it's like, the Steelers, when I look at the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers, bro, I just think of great defense. That's just my opinion. Like, I just look at a great defense. I look at players who talk trash. I look at players who actually deliver and bring that foundation. Like, even if your veterans are gone, they at least let the younger guys take that knowledge to the next level. So that's something I've kind of admire the most. Like, even LeVon Kirkland said something like that, where they always pass it on to the next player and they always bring that knowledge to the next player.
For sure, man. I mean, we definitely are a defensive-heavy franchise. I mean, some of the greatest defensive players have come from us. You got your Mean Joe Greens, you got your Jack Lamberts, your Jack Hams, your entire steel curtain up there up front. You got your Donnie Shells. You got your later along the way, you got your may he rest in peace, Kevin Greens. You got your yeah, definitely. Levon Kirkland was part of it as well.
Biggest linebacker in NFL history. I think he was about 300 pounds. Like, I don't think there's ever been a linebacker at that weight, man. But everybody said that dude was built like 300 pounds.
Definitely, Mel Blount you got along the way as well. I mean, the list just goes on and on.
Troy Polamalu, bro. I can go on. Troy Polamalu, bro. This guy was a generational talent, and you know what's even funny? We have an impersonator that just happens to be like
I know.
Yeah, and that's kind of interesting. They compare him, but I'm trying to say pump the brakes a little bit. He's not like explosive like Polamalu. Polamalu had that 4.3 speed where it was game speed. Hufanga, he's like a 4.6 guy, but he kind of translated it pretty well. Like, if you look at the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers, you look at guys like Greg Lloyd, very underrated, but got the job done. You looked at guys like Joey Porter, just had the ability to back it up on the football field. He was like he was like your Richard Sherman before there was a Richard Sherman, but at linebacker.
Definitely, man. And like I even said in my preview, Hufanga definitely gives me Polamalu vibes. He plays like him, almost the same position. Like Hufanga's strong safety, right?
Yeah, he's strong safety, and I guess Polamalu has given him some mentor. Yeah, Polamalu has been training this guy too, so that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, they came out of the same school, if I'm not mistaken, too.
Yep, UFC, and they both live in the state of Oregon too.
Yeah, serious Polamalu vibes right there, man. But like I said, am I a fan of him tomorrow? No, but. Yeah, man, Hufanga is just so fun to watch, and I think that's a perfect segue into leading into X factors for this game, which is something that I want to get into. So, what do you think are some big X factors for the 49ers tomorrow?
I think our X factor would have to be Deebo Samuel, because I think you guys are going to try to take away our running game a little bit. So you guys are going to try to force us to feed the ball to Deebo, because everybody's paying attention to McCaffrey. They're going to pay more attention to Ayuk. So you guys are probably going to force us to maybe see if Deebo still got it, So maybe that's the X factor is I think Deebo's going to have to be a part of this game plan, because he's kind of been underlooked now, because last year he was so disappointed about last year. He looks a lot more explosive. He's kind of looked in the best shape since last offseason, because last offseason he was a little out of shape. And I think this is probably the perfect time for him to prove, hey, I'm worth that money. So I'm going to do it against a great defense. And I think the next X factor for me is to get to Kenny Pickett, man. We got to force this guy to create some turnovers. I think that's going to be the huge matchup for us to have a better chance against you guys.
Absolutely, definitely. So for me, I would have to say speed is going to have to be our X factor for this one. Because while you brought up Deebo Samuel, who definitely is one of the most innovative players in the game, I think we have to counter that with Calvin Austin, who's going to be on the field for the first time in his NFL career. I mean, obviously it should have been last year, but he had that leg injury that kept setting him back, and he ultimately had to miss all of last season. But seeing what Calvin Austin did in preseason and in training camp, where we're finally opening up the playbook a little bit, because if you know anything about Steeler fans over here, we love just shouting at Matt Canada to just open up the playbook, stop using the same 5 plays every single game, and get creative with your players, which, yes, I think it's warranted. But now that Calvin Austin's finally going to get his opportunity on the field, I think that, the criticism for Matt Canada will simmer down just a little bit more. But I think speed is definitely something that is going to be one of our biggest X factors in this game as well, because we're countering that with Calvin Austin for this game. He definitely has some great wheels. And if you saw I think it was the Buccaneer game in preseason, absolutely roasted their entire secondary on a bomb from Mason Rudolph, 67-yard touchdown reception right there. He lit it up on special teams as well. Great punt returns. And we can use him for like wildcat plays and jet sweeps and all that stuff, which is what Matt Canada has in mind. But I think part of the problem why he kept calling those plays is because he didn't have the correct personnel. Now we have Calvin Austin on the field. So I think that's my biggest X factor for this game. As far as defense goes for us, I think the biggest X factor has to be the matchup between, at least in my opinion, it has to be Minkah Fitzpatrick going up against George Kittle. Yeah. Because we know Minkah's going to be put on him all day long tomorrow afternoon. Minkah has not been as targeted anymore because now quarterbacks are catching on to, hey, this guy's their free safety. He's going to be on the field every single play of the game. We can't take any deep shots. So I think with Kyle Shanahan, with him having that at the back of his head, I think George Kittle is going to be Brock's security blanket for this game, and he's going to have a big test going against Minkah for this one. So I think how Minkah responds to having to go up against George Kittle for this one and actually having to get physical with him, because George Kittle is a tough guy to bring down, man. He is very hard to tackle. I think Minkah has to be at his fullest for this game and on George Kittle all day tomorrow.
Yeah, I think that's what the main key is. You guys have to find a way to cover George Kittle. He's going to be a huge part of our offense, and I don't think a lot of teams have taken deep shots towards Minkah because a lot of opposing teams are afraid to take the shots. But if anybody has the guts to do something like that, it is Kyle Shanahan, who is not afraid of taking shots like this. He's got Kittle in the middle for a reason. He's got Brandon Ayuk, who runs those routes for a reason. You got Deebo. There's a lot of different ways how you can use him. I mean, McCaffrey, you can use him as a slot receiver, bro. Kyle Juszczyk is our second tight end, but it's pick your poison. Kyle Shanahan finds ways to out-scheme certain defense at times.
Definitely. And something else that I want to touch on for the keys here is that I think it all has to come down to how we use our depth for this game as well, because I'm just going to say it. My patience, look, I like Najee Harris. I think he is a smart guy. I think he works hard. He's just not cutting it so far. I mean, I know he's had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons to begin his career, especially with the O-line that we've had to start off the career, which sounds like a good thing, but my patience with him is waning because he's still missing holes. He's still what do I say here? He's just doing the same thing over and over again without really improving, you know? And so, like, I think that at this point, with what we've seen in Najee and what we saw in Jalen Warren last year, who was undrafted by us and who was a pleasant surprise in the backfield for a good chunk of last year, I think you either have to make Jalen Warren your number one, your RB1, at least for this game, and if he has a solid game moving forward as well. But at the very least, you got to get split carries for this game as well and confuse that 49er run defense that they have right there. I already said it before, like incorporating the misdirections, with well, not the misdirections, the jet sweeps and the using and utilizing Calvin Austin, because that'll prolong a good drive for Kenny Pickett. But I think you got to get the misdirections involved, and you got to get your split carries involved with your backfield as well, and just see what Jalen Warren brings to the table. Because, like I said, my patience with Najee is starting to wane a little bit. And this is his third season. We fixed up the O-line heavily in the offseason, which was the number one thing that we needed to fix up on in the offseason, aside from the defensive backs, which is why Omar Khan has done a phenomenal job his first full season as GM for us. And there's no excuse for Najee anymore. If he continues to just remain stagnant and be satisfied with 1,000-yard seasons, I'm officially going to be on board and say we should be in the market to see what we can get in a trade for Najee Harris. So I think definitely for tomorrow, you got to have a running back by committee type of offense.
Yeah, you want to keep your running backs fresh. And if Najee doesn't pan out like the way you hope for, like you might have to mix it up with Jalen Warren a little bit, because he does a little bit of something different. Like I've heard he's more of a all-purpose back. So that's kind of something that you guys can incorporate to your offense. Like, yeah, I've heard a little bit of what your Steelers fans have said about Matt Canada. It just sounds funny that the last name is Canada. He must be from out of country. Like, I don't know. But I guess in a way, the way you guys look at his play calls, I guess he's kind of like your typical Greg Roman, I guess. We used to have a terrible play caller back in San Francisco by Greg Roman. And then finally in Baltimore, his type of stuff didn't work for long.
Yeah, Raven fans were screaming for Greg Roman to go.
He's fired.
Yeah, and, they replaced him. They fired him in the offseason. They got a new OC. So, like, it's just more of the same, But now for Matt Canada, I mean, there's literally no excuse, because you have the personnel that you need in order to have your offense work. And now you have Kenny Pickett, improving his mechanics, using his footwork, taking more shots down the field, evolving more into a pocket passer, not getting faced by disguised blitzes, not getting faced by, when defenses throw cover one and switch to cover two at him, because he was reading it like a book in the preseason. Now, granted, like I'm not the kind of guy that bases everything off of preseason, but if I have to tell you what I think of Kenny Pickett, I kind of have to go to it for right now, because if you saw it all year last year, he was getting faced by it left and right, which made him make those rookie mistakes. And I know he threw 9 picks last year against just 7 touchdowns, but I argue that at least 2/3 of those picks weren't his fault. It was just very unfortunate circumstances. I mean, definitely a couple of them were on him, like in the Miami game that we had on Sunday night last year, where we were driving at the goal line, down 16-10, and Kenny Pickett just forces a pass on his weak side of the corner of the end zone, gets picked off. That's a throw that you can't do as a rookie, because, like, right there, Dolphins go from cover 1 to cover 2. Kenny Pickett wasn't ready for it, threw an interception, and that sealed the game for Miami right there. But he also threw 2 other picks in that game, to where I can't remember if it was Claypool or Deontay Johnson. It was one of those guys. I think it was Claypool, though, where Kenny Pickett overthrew him, but Claypool trips over his own 2 feet, and the ball just happened to get intercepted. Like, if Claypool doesn't trip, that's bare minimum just an incomplete pass and an overthrow. And then the second one shouldn't have even happened because back-to-back false starts by Dan Moore, who I'm going to talk about in just a second here, back-to-back false starts or whatever, they were both on Dan Moore, and then the third play just happened to be an interception. So I just argued that. So that's just basically my thesis with Kenny Pickett last year. He threw 9 picks, yeah, but like 2/3 of them aren't his fault, which is where I get into the O-line specifically with Dan Moore Jr. at left tackle here. I love the Broderick Jones pick. I love that Omar Khan was being aggressive in the draft and trading up with New England to snag him at 14. But do I think Broderick Jones should get the start at left tackle tomorrow? No. Because he's going up against Nick Bosa. Next week, on Monday night when we play the Browns at home, Myles Garrett. Then after that, fly out to Vegas to play the Raiders on Sunday night, Max Crosby. That's an elite gauntlet of pass rushers that a young kid like him is going to be going up against. So at the very least, I would not start Broderick Jones at left tackle, in my opinion, until week 4 when we play Houston, because the Texans, they improved their defense, but they don't really have a standout pass rusher to worry about. And also Broderick Jones in training camp was going up against Alex Highsmith as well, who had the quietest 14.5 sack season I've ever heard of last year, and he got extended as well, much deserved. And he lost 2 out of the 3 matchups to him in training camp. So definitely Broderick Jones is going to get his chance to start at left tackle sooner rather than later, in my opinion. You just can't do it these first few weeks of the season, because that is not only a confidence lower for him, but you're looking at a situation where you can get Kenny Pickett potentially hurt again because he had 2 concussions last year. So definitely I'd hold off on starting Broderick Jones for at least the first few weeks of the season. And I'm not a fan of Dan Moore. I don't think any Steeler fan is, but it's the right call to start him at left tackle for tomorrow.
I mean, if he's not any better than your rookie, you might need to give him a chance. He has to build experience. Like, even as a guy who played offensive line, you got to always feel ready. You got to always feel confident for the matchups. Like, even like you said, it might not be a good idea to throw him in the fire with all these other elite talents maybe in a few weeks, like you said, but how else is he going to build experience? Like, like Penei Sewell went against Nick Bosa as a rookie, and he actually did okay. So you might have to see what the kid can be. I mean, if Dan Moore's not better than what you have right now, I would prefer to go with the rookie, because at least I get to see how this kid develops. Because they're going to go through some ups and downs, but at least you're going to give the kid a chance to say, hey, you are right, kid. We're going to go with you all the way. But if this Dan Moore isn't going to do good, bro, then you're better off with the rookie. I mean, that's just my opinion. Like, you're going to have to build confidence. You're going to have to build up against the best, because when you go against the best, it's going to make you better. Like you said, L.A. Highsmith actually had his way against the rookie, but that's always what you expect from most rookies. They're going to have their ups and downs, but they're going to catch up to the game. So I saw that as an intriguing pick. And then the fact you guys got Darnell Washington, that was a steal. Yeah. I thought he could have been up there, but he had some foot issue, if I'm mistaken. But you guys had a pretty good draft class. I ain't going to lie.
Absolutely. Yeah, Darnell Washington is someone that I forgot to talk about in my preview as well. I love this pick more and more as the weeks go by, man. I mean, he's basically going to be our 6th guy on the O-line, which is definitely something that we need bad. He's a great physical blocker as well. He's real tall. He's got great athletic ability for a tight end as well. He's another X factor up on this team as well. And I think, it's going to be good old school type of football if you're a big tight end fullback kind of person, which if you love defense, then you probably love tight ends and fullbacks just as much. And that's something that I'm definitely in the realm of as well. So I think definitely Darnell Washington is someone that I think needs to make an impact tomorrow as well. And then, of course, obviously Connor Hayward for us over here, he's a fullback tight end hybrid.
Ooh,
So,
kind of like a use check.
yeah, definitely. So I think definitely those two, you got to like move the sticks, get the chunks of yards, eat up the clock, and, just basically beat Shanahan at his own game, which is where it's like he has a plug and play type of quarterback system. You have to counter that, like I said for a couple of times now, utilize your run game, utilize your depth, and have your quarterback take shots down the field. Those are my keys to victory for offense tomorrow. And then, yeah, definitely for defense, you got to tackle well. You got to put your best guys on their weakest guys, in my opinion. And you got to look out for premier matchups, like I said, with Minka and Kittle. I think Patrick Peterson and Deebo Samuel is going to be a good one too. Possibly we can see PZ Jr. out there tomorrow, subbing in for a couple of plays. So definitely key matchups on defense are something you got to look out for. And it's not so much that Brock Purdy is the quarterback, but it's just that what Shanahan was able to accomplish with Jimmy G and, what he tried to do, what he never really got a chance with Trey Lance and now with Brock Purdy. It's just that you got to know the type of coach that Kyle Shanahan is. It's a quarterback friendly type of system, and you got to be physical and with the quarterback. So those are my two keys to victory for tomorrow. What about you?
Well, the two keys for the victory for the Niners is it's definitely has to be we got to be good as a running team because that's where our play action becomes a little effective. Like if we can establish our running game, which I have some confidence we could do that, but I feel like that's how we're going to have to beat Pittsburgh. We have to be able to run the ball effectively to you guys. Defensively, just correct. I mean, defensively, try to confuse Kenny Pickett because Kenny Pickett, he's still kind of like a rookie if you think about it. Like you said, he didn't finish more than those amount of games. So he like, Brock Purdy and Kenny are typically kind of like rookies if you think about it. Like they haven't finished an entire season all the way. So I think we got to make Kenny Pickett beat us at some point. Like we're going to have to try to disguise coverage with you guys, try to confuse them a little bit. But I think our running game has to be on points, or I can see it as an ugly game. It's one or the other. Like the running game has to be the factor for us to move the chains a little more because there's going to be times where if you guys force Brock Purdy to beat you guys, that might be challenging because I've seen how we struggle and lost games. It's because we've always had to be forced to have our quarterbacks beat you guys or beat other teams down the field at times. And most of the time, 50% of the time, we fail from that situation. So I think when we start running the ball effectively well, we have a stronger chance to win these games more than lose those games. You know what I mean?
Definitely, man. I think it absolutely has to come down to make the quarterback beat you because, like you said, these are two young quarterbacks that are getting their first full seasons in. So definitely, it's going to come down to which quarterback can be more clutch in the grand scheme of things. So before I leave it up to the chat, I'm just going to leave it as final predictions for the game. And since you are both the host or both the guest on my channel and coincidentally enough the visiting team tomorrow, what's your final prediction for tomorrow?
It's going to be a low-score game. Like I had some thoughts that it would be the 20 points, but then I started realizing, they're two physical teams. I don't think it's going to be a high score at all. So I came into my conclusion that it's going to be 17 to 20, but it can go either way. But I'm just going to go logic and say Niners for the 3-point win because I think, I think it's 50-50, if I'm being honest.
I absolutely agree. I don't see a whole lot of points being put up at all. I didn't look at the over-under for this game. I'm not that type of person that does that. I do look at spreads, though, because it's part of my pick'em tournament, but I don't really tend to go with the over-under for games. But I think this is looking like kind of like my kind of game. Like I've always said that my ideal score for a defensive game is like in the 20-16, 21-17 kind of range, or it's like you have a respectable amount of offense, but it's just mainly defense driven. So like I think we're probably looking at like maybe a 20-17, 23-17 type of game, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, those are the final predictions. That is the open discussion. And now we are halfway through the stream. So we are just going to leave it up to the chat now for an open Q&A. Any of you's got questions for either me or CG, now is the time to go through it. As I said, CG, go sub him up if you haven't already. I have his link both posted in the description, and it's linked in the title of this video as well.
Definitely appreciate the yinzers, man. Like, hey, I'm going to interview one of your legends after my collab with Mac, man. I'm going to get Levon Kirkland. You guys definitely want to tune in. But it's going to be pretty exciting this Sunday.
Yeah, definitely. I'll have to probably look at that on replay because I got something to do after this. So I'll definitely have to take a look at replay of that.
Yeah, I showed you my previous video like a few months ago. I had him on, but yeah, he's a good dude, very good guy.
Yeah, I've heard. A buddy of mine actually personally met him, and he said the same thing. Actually, he's like the most chill, down to earth person that you'll ever meet.
Yeah, he doesn't care what team you root for. He kind of seems the more respectful guy. Like, he's been on different other channels before. I think he was on a Saints channel and a few other teams' channels, but he's always been a kindly guy.
Yeah, for sure. And, that's how I feel about the bus, Jerome Bettis, because a lot of people don't know. I actually met him a couple years ago. I was at a Pirates game, actually. And after the game, I went to his restaurant that he had at the time. It closed down on the North Shore in Pittsburgh. But at the time, I just stopped by, got something to eat before I hit the road back home. And Jerome's just walking around the place, just checking in on everyone. And when I saw him, I did a double take. And I'm like, oh my God, that's the bus. And we talked for 10 minutes or something like that. And he's just such a nice guy. He's a lot bigger in person, but he's like a gentle giant. He is just so nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of these players who are pretty humble. Like, you can just tell from when you get a chance to know them. I'll give you an example. Like, a couple years ago, I was at the Niners and Cardinals game, and I saw Brian Young just right around the corner, and I just snuck up on the guy. So he took a few minutes of his time to just appreciate the faithful. I had that video on there. I had a little short video of it. And then he kind of just shake my hand and took a picture with me. I think there's a lot of humble players in some ways. There's some are selfish. There's some that think other ways. But there are some down-to-earth athletes that are very much thankful to the fans and all that stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And, that's something that I love to see in football players, because you got asshole football players out there, obviously, but then you got the ones that just understand that, at the end of the day, the only difference between me and them, or you and them, or anyone in general, is that they just make more money than us to play, to play a kid's game.
They don't look at any different. Some of them do, but some of them think above. There's quite a few people. I think my cousin went to meet up Terrell Owens, and I guess he had bad experience with Terrell Owens, and I guess he was what he was. But that's either here or there, But yeah, when you look at players in general, bro, you'd be surprised how many players are willing just to go on shows, bro. I've tried to push further to get anybody, bro. I'll get any NFL player, ex-Niners, any players, bro. I had Stuart Swagger. I'm supposed to get a couple of other NFL players. I even had Lincoln Kennedy, and he plays for the rival Raiders, even though it's not a rival, but it's a fan-based rival. But they're good people.
Yeah, definitely. And, I would just love to have more opportunities to just, meet football players, meet, all these people in general. I actually went, Andy Isabella, right?
Oh, yeah, the wide receiver from the Cardinals, right?
I actually went to high school with him.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I actually played with him too. I was I think I was a grade ahead of him, but Man, that dude had some wheels on him, man. Like, he was a track star in high school. He was the number one receiver the year I graduated on the team. I mean, I stopped playing football after sophomore year because that was the year I really messed up my ankle. And like, it was so bad. And like, ever since then, I can't really move my legs as quickly anymore, which is why, like, when I'm at the gym and I'm doing leg day, I go hard, but not like all out because I don't want to re-aggravate that. But man, Andy Isabella had, oh my God, that guy was fast. And now, oddly enough, now he's in our division. He plays for the Ravens now.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I didn't know about that. But, I played against a couple of NFL players who play for other teams. Like, I played with the likes of Michael Kendricks, who was with the Philadelphia Eagles. The guy was the fastest linebacker, one of the strongest players. And then Eric Kendricks, he played as a sophomore for Hoover High School, which we play against him every year. And he played for the Vikings. Now he plays for the Chargers. But, I started playing football for so many years, but my final years was actually when I was almost going to be 30 years old, bro. So I actually had a devastating injury. The ankle injury is no joke, bro, because I had to get surgical repair 3 times because I couldn't walk or move it as good. So it took me like 6 months to recover. Financially, I was struggling, bro. Even when I was getting married, bro, I was on a wheelchair because I couldn't move my leg. Dude, I was kind of like at a point that there was like some doctors, bro, that were going to say, well, if you can't move it, we might have to cut off your foot. But nope, it kind of been because I've been in medical condition. I've been able to like move my feet better, and they said it's improved better. There was a point where I could have lost my leg because of that injury because they kept doing it multiple times. They screwed up the surgery. But now that I'm able to walk it, I can walk it just fine. It's just the aches, the achy pains and all that stuff. Like, that's why I stopped playing football after 2019 because of the movements and all that stuff. I can move just fine like everybody else, but it's not the same way like I used to play, man.
Yeah, definitely. Like, when it comes to like medical insurance for me, like, I'm surprised it's not through the roof because like with my legs in particular, like, I've had so many leg problems in my life. Like, obviously I talked about my ankle with high school that pretty much ended football for me. But then, like, I also swam and played baseball in high school as well. And with the same leg that I busted my ankle with, I think I was maybe a junior in high school, upperclassman year. I'm pretty sure I was a junior, though. I actually had a blood clot in the same leg that I had the hamstring problem with. And it was in my hamstring. And I was fortunate enough to get to the doctor when I did because, like, if I had waited any longer, I probably could be on like a prosthetic leg right now because like it was that bad. Like,
Yeah.
I couldn't swim for almost 2 months. I had to miss like half the season. I was on blood thinners for a little bit. And, sometimes my leg hurts again. I had to wear a compression stocking.
That's what I do.
Yeah, I had to wear a compression stocking for a little bit, and I still have them, So, like, sometimes my leg's really sore. I just slab that on, and it feels fine.
Yeah, that's how I deal with it. The difference was I was able to they were able to fix it immediately. Like, at some point, they had to do 3 different times to repair the issue and all that stuff. And then I had to tell the entire team from the semi-pros that, hey, I think I'm done. I can't play, and I gotta provide for my family. I did this for fun, so it wasn't like it wasn't like I quit on the team. It was more like, hey, I can't do this no more. So
Yeah,
it's like I gave it all I gave it all I had. But at the end of the day, bro, I don't regret playing the game. I just had to know when to stop.
Yeah, I feel you. All right, so Mark Lancaster says over or under Nick Herbig 1.5 sacks for tomorrow. I'm actually going to go under on that one. I think that he maybe gets half a sack because I think Nick Herbig is the kind of guy to where, yeah, I mean, he had a really good preseason. He had 6 sacks in the preseason, but if we're being honest, as far as the defense goes, I think he'll be used more as like a run stopper across the middle. platooning him with Quan Alexander and platooning him with Quan Alexander at some points, and obviously Benton's going to be thrown in the mix at points too. So like he may be used for like a third down situation at some point, and just where we're like bringing the house at some point, whatever comes first, in my opinion. And I think he'll get a hit on Purdy, but as far as the 1.5 sacks go, I'm gonna probably have to go with the under for that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I just heard that he's a physical linebacker from Wisconsin that you guys drafted. Like, I've heard some good reviews about the kid. I think he was listed at 220 something or something like that. But I've seen a lot of tape from this kid. He is a physical type of player. He makes plays. That's a hell of a good pick, if I'm being honest, because I've heard about him, but I was like thinking, I don't think we're going to get that kid. I think we're going to get somebody different. So I think as far as our X factor, dude, this may be a surprise for some of the other fans. Like, you guys are talking about Fred Warner, bro. You ain't talk about Drake Greenlaw. The man creates turnovers. Right. This man is a talker, but he delivers. He's going to be one of those guys that's going to – he might even force a fumble off of Najee Harris. Who knows?
Yeah, that's the guy I was thinking of when I was talking about your defense. I completely forgot to talk about him. But yeah, definitely Greenlaw is going to be a problem too. So is Ward on your secondary too. Yeah, for sure. Let's see what else. Mark says George Pickens 10 catches, 123 yards, and 2 touchdowns. The difference maker. Hey man, as much as I would love for that to happen tomorrow, I think George is definitely going to get the majority of the targets tomorrow because, that's just who Kenny Pickett throws to the most. But like I said before, as far as going up against Shanahan and going up against this type of scheme, I think you got to utilize your tight ends in this game.
Yeah, like I was thinking that you guys were going to use more of Deontay Johnson, so that was going to be one of my lineups in fantasy football because I had him on one of my rosters.
Yeah, definitely. Mark says here that TJ has taken him under his wing, a little undersized at 2. Yeah, I knew Nick Herbig was a little undersized.
I thought he was listed at 220 something at first, but I guess he added some weight or something.
Yeah, I heard that he was trying to gain a little bit of weight in the when he was training with us, which I mean, I'm not too concerned about being a little undersized because a lot of people forget that James Harrison, when he was an undrafted free agent to us back in 2002, he was actually a little undersized at linebacker. Like, Bill Cowher was actually kind of worried that he actually couldn't play linebacker because he was a little too small to play linebacker. But when he tried him out, he was just flawless. And obviously, he ended up being our all-time sack leader back in 2016, which, let's be real, TJ Watt's going to break that possibly this year. But, yeah, I mean, a lot, I'm in the minority. I'm kind of on the edge where people say that size doesn't matter because there are times where I do agree with it, and then there are times where I disagree with it as well. So, like, I'm not too concerned about Nick Herbig right now as far as his size goes. I think he's going to work really hard.
It's all about those players who have been overlooked because of their size, but they've always got something to prove, like if a player gets drafted late or drops in the draft because of the size, bro, that's kind of like underestimating what they could be. Like there's a lot of guys who've actually had to come into the league and say, I was too small to play this position. They said I wasn't good enough. But if they can prove it at this point, at the next level, then it shouldn't matter.
Yeah. Mark also says that Cam could break it as well. He's close. Cam Hayward has definitely made one of the biggest impacts on our defense over the past couple of seasons. Yeah, and, I hate to say, I mean, this may be one of his final seasons with us. He's starting to get up there in age. He's starting to get older now. I think he's like in his early 30s. I don't remember exactly how old he is, but I know
he's 34.
Yeah, I know, like early 30s, somewhere around there.
He's about my age.
Yeah, so I think that this is one of his final seasons in a league. But like, if he just goes out with a bang this year and then he retires, like, I'm all for it.
Yeah, some players have to think life after football, but Cam Hayward, bro, he's been kind of like your glue of your defense for decades. So it's like you got to find that next guy, and maybe you're hoping that Benton from Wisconsin that you guys drafted. I really like this kid from Wisconsin too, and I was surprised you guys got him. I'm like, damn, I seen something special about this kid. And everybody talks about stats and all the other stuff, bro. I just look at a guy who can stop the run and actually be disrupted at some point. And I think what Pittsburgh did with drafting this kid is they're going to mold this guy into a blue chip type player. And I think Keneal Benton is going to be a hell of a good player down the road.
That's exactly why I think we drafted Benton, because I think he's going to be Cam Hayward's replacement down the line.
I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, Tomlin said exclusively when we first drafted him that he's not exclusively going to be that blue chip type of player. We're not going to use him as a pass rusher. We're using him for right now more as like, Casey Big Snacks Hampton from back in the day, where we're just using him as a nose tackle for right now.
Yeah, run stopper. Yeah,
just plugging up the whole stop in the run.
Yeah, I played two different sides of the ball. Usually played D tackle. You got to take a lot of the double teams, and you got to do the dirty work, and you have to be able to eat the run and all that stuff. It doesn't always have to be getting to the quarterback. It's all about helping your other defensive line around you to make plays. So that's where I can give credit for D tackles, because it takes a lot to be double teamed and triple teamed sometimes. Because if you're that good of a player, they're going to try to game plan on stopping you.
Yeah, and that's why TJ's been getting triple teamed like ever since 2021 now. Like every time you watch scrimmages or you watch highlights or whatever, any way you can get your eyes on the Steelers, you're going to see TJ being at least double teamed every single scrimmage.
Because he's a Watt. There's just something about the Watts, man. They're just something. I mean, TJ, he's a game changer, and I can see why they want to game plan this guy. Like double him, but then you might sleep on L.A. Highsmith. So I don't know. You got to pick your poison a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. One of my favorite highlights was from a couple years ago. We were playing the Titans at home, and it was third down. TJ is literally getting triple teamed by 3 Titans, and he still gets to Tannehill and sacks him. That was one of my favorite highlights that I've ever seen, because that just shows the kind of power and the speed that TJ has. You would not expect a guy to be that big, who's pretty much the same size as Big Ben. He's 6'4", 240, pretty much the size of Big Ben. You would not expect a guy that big to move that quickly.
Yeah, there's some speed in the way they play the game. Sometimes it's all about game speed. Like, look at Nick Bosa. Like, he is not a athletic guy, but he makes plays, and he kind of has the game speed. Like, if you look at how Nick Bosa is tested on the 40, bro, he runs a 4.79, but if you look at how he plays, bro, he looks like a 4.5 guy on the football field.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I look at the matchup more like, bro, I don't expect the offense to be explosive. I think you're going to see a lot of turnovers. I think you're going to see it from Pickett and Brock Purdy. So whoever makes the lesser mistakes will win, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to come down to who blinks first on defense, and one mistake on offense can kill you.
Yeah, it could. I mean, I don't expect it any different than what the outcome is. But, hey, here's a good question by Mark Lancaster. Do you think Nick Bosa is actually worth Aaron Donald money?
I'll let you answer that.
I mean, he's a game changer, bro. Like, without him on our defensive line, we're average. Like, I think he makes a huge difference. Like, when Nick Bosa got paid, bro, the entire locker room was proud. We're happy for this guy. They were pumped.
I was happy for him.
Yeah, like, he's worth it. Like, there's like, okay, if TJ Watt got $28 million, then why not Nick Bosa get a little more? I mean, TJ Watt has earned every right to, but Nick Bosa is the guy. Like, he's the defensive player of the year. Like, you'd be crazy to let this guy walk. Yeah, the money may be a lot of money, but Aaron Donald's already going to be up in age. I think his time's going to be running up pretty soon. And I think as far as the standards, yeah, Aaron Donald did set the standards for highest paid defender for sure. But Nick Bosa's already paving the way. You're going to see Micah Parsons. You're going to see other edge defenders wanting to get that money. That's how much of a standard it was. Because TJ Watt had the standards before. Joey Bosa did. But now Nick Bosa's standards all the way higher. So it's worth the money. If you don't have a guy who chases quarterbacks, you're in trouble.
Definitely. And, Mark, you can probably ask the same in regards to TJ as well, because they're pretty much getting paid the same amount. We're paying TJ $28 a year, and this is, I think, year 3 of his extension. So by next year, he's gonna have made 112 with us. I think it's not impossible that you can pay him that kind of money. But again, like where they are at their career has a lot to do with it as well. Because I think this is Bosa's, 5th season with you? At least his 5th?
Yeah, it's his 5th season because he's on the 5th-year option. We already extended him, so that's going to be good for another 5 years. But
and Aaron Donald's been here for a decade now.
3-time Defensive Player of the Year, Super Bowl champion. The man's already done it all. He could just retire if he wanted to. But
yeah, he really could. So, honestly, I think with the position that the Rams are in right now, where they're rebuilding and they're gutting their entire core, and Aaron Donald is their guy, they got the most out of him. They have no maneuverability when it comes to free agency coming up because they have no cap space right now. So a hot take of mine is that they should actually be in the market to be looking to trade guys like Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald because they need as much draft capital as possible.
And they need to build up quickly because look at Seattle. They got rid of Russell Wilson and got what they can get, and they're becoming competitive. So you look at it this way. See, there's a lot of that. Oh, Beantown has a really good question. I think he was asking. Oh, yeah. I think this is a good question right here. Okay.
What's up, Bobby? How you doing, buddy? Oh, wait. Where's this question at?
No, it's right here in my opinion, but I think Niners are tough. But I think – he said thoughts. Well, I think it's going to come down to the trenches. I really do think that because I don't think neither team is going to have a high score. I don't. Because if you guys say, Kenny Pickett and Brock Purdy are going to put up 30 points, no. That's the defense is going to shut it down. I don't think we're going to score anywhere past that. This kind of reminds me a little bit of the Cowboys game because their defense was good too. So I don't expect us to score anywhere there, but I think Pittsburgh isn't going to score anywhere there either. So I think both teams are going to be stalemate, and it's going to come down to maybe 3 points or maybe a touchdown. I think it's going to be a tough game.
Absolutely, Bobby. I think it absolutely is going to come down to the trenches. I've always compared being a quarterback to being a boxer. When you're a boxer, you have to be willing to get knocked out to knock out your opponent. Get
back up from it.
And Kenny Pickett's starting to evolve into that type of quarterback. Brock Purdy's starting to evolve into that type of quarterback. And so, I see this as a big boxing match between two heavyweight defenses right here, man. It's kind of like if, I don't know, prime Mike Tyson went up against Floyd Mayweather right now. Whereas, you made a good point between this being between the Dallas playoff game. I can see where you're going with that, but I think the difference here is that the 49ers are literally the Cowboys' worst matchup right now.
Yeah,
whereas you put them against a team like Pittsburgh, it's really not all set in stone because, like I said a couple of times, these two teams mirror each other a lot.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very close game. I'm just saying because of the defense. Dallas's defense was good last year, and we didn't score anywhere past 30. We were barely lucky to score 19. That's where I'm coming with the comparison because I think your defense is going to hold up on us, and I think it's going to be very tough for us. I think pound for pound, it's not set in stones, but I think we are evenly matched. Like you have your AFC version of the Niners. We have the NFC version of the Steelers. It's pretty much the same thing. It's just, I don't think it's going to be a high score game like everybody thinks.
Not at all.
I see plenty of your fan base overlooking us, and I'm just saying, bro, I think it's going to be a good game. Like, come on, man.
I will honestly be very surprised if either team exceeds 24 points tomorrow.
Me too, because I don't think we're going to get anywhere past the 20-plus points. I'd be shocked, but if for some reason my team scores 30, dude, that would shock me because I'll be like, God damn, are we that good? Or if it's a low-score game like I expect it to be, it wouldn't surprise me because I think this is evenly a matchup.
Yeah, and this is just the type of game to where you got your Zoomers out there that just like saying, oh, this is going to be a 33-30 type of game. It's going to be, Purdy's going to throw for 350 tomorrow, or Kenny Pickett's going to throw for 400 tomorrow, breakout. Allow me to piss on your parade, kids. This ain't one of those type of games. This is like 80s. This is going to be like the closest representation of you're going to see to like 70s, 80s, and most of 90s type of football.
It's going to come down to running the ball, actually. It really depends. It really depends on the running game, and the defense are going to cause some turnovers. Like, I had to do a lot of my work on this, and I'm like thinking, man, it is tough to predict this game. But do we have a chance to beat you guys? Absolutely, but I'm not going to just be like most fans and say, oh, we're going to blow the break. No. It's 50-50 for me to even go there. That's why I'm saying I'm going to pick my team because it's 50-50. But I think it can go either way.
Yeah, and something else that you got to consider for this game. The thing about Mike Tomlin for me is that I'm honestly very gray area with him. Like, there are times where, like, I always give him credit where credit's due, but I also have no problem, tearing him a new one when he makes a dumb mistake. I treat him like a regular person, kind of like a family member, you treat your kid like how you would treat. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, like, I kind of treat him like he's my kid, If he does something great and if he has a really good game, pat him on the back. I give him credit. When he does something stupid, I let him have it. My dad used to tell me, and he still does tell me this, I have no problem patting you on the back and kicking you in the ass. The difference is 6 inches. That's what that's what I am with Mike Tomlin, okay? But the thing with Tomlin is that the 49ers, last time I checked, are 2-point favorites for this game. Tomlin actually has a career winning record when the Steelers are underdogs.
That's what I'm kind of concerned about because if that's the case, that could be tricky because I said it can go either way. And I feel exactly the same way with Shanahan. Like, there's moments I just want to rip the guy's head off. Like, what the hell are you doing, Shanahan? Like, why? It's like, why? And then there's times I'll give him his credit and give him his flowers. But, yeah, I think that's what's so interesting about the Steelers, bro. Like, under Mike Tomlin, when they're picking against Pittsburgh, they always are the favorites in some ways. But if you look at the NFL picks, bro, they've actually picked Pittsburgh over the Niners.
I know. I saw I always watch the NFL's short little previews for each game. I was surprised to see 6 out of 10 analysts picked us.
Oh my God, bro!
Like,
what?
I thought it was going to be either the 49ers being a slight favorite or it was going to be dead even. But no, 6 out of 10 picked us. I was really surprised by that.
Oh, dude, that's what shocked me, but it wouldn't surprise me. Oh, Beantown has a really good question. I like this one.
Yeah.
Okay, CG, are you concerned teams are having game film on Purdy? Do you think he'll backslide a little bit from last year, or will the good plays continue? That is a question mark. I do have some questions on that in general because, you had your flashes before the injury. You were kind of playing really well, but is he going to be exposed? I don't know, bro. That is definitely a question mark. But I feel like the way how Shanahan runs these offense, he has confidence with Brock Purdy. Maybe it might stay the same. Maybe it'll get better. Or maybe not. Maybe they got film on the kid. I don't know. I'm pretty 50-50 with the guy right now. Because I don't know what he could be right now. We're talking about 8 game samples. It's like, I want to believe it because, Shanahan makes the system easy for these quarterbacks. So if Brock Purdy can go back to the same form, then I think we'll be solid. We'll be all right. But if he doesn't get any better, I think there's a way how we can bail him out a little bit because we have a lot of group of stack of talent around him to make him successful. It's not like he has to carry the team. As long as he does his job, we'll be all right. I think, they might have some film on the kid, but he is going to have to prove it. I think the Niners went gutsy. We went all in for Trey for nothing. We got rid of him for the last pick of the draft, and Kyle believes in this kid. Kyle has an entire he's going to extend more of the playbook because he likes what he's seen from Purdy. So he thinks that it's going to open up the playbook. And if that's the case, I'm all in for this. But for what Beantown is asking, bro, it is 50-50 on what's going to happen. Like if he is going to be figured out, I don't think it's going to affect the team going into the season. I think as long as Brock Purdy can manage the game just like how Jimmy does it, then we'll be all right.
Yeah, definitely. I think it definitely comes down to just minimizing negativity, which is one of Tomlin's favorite sayings that he says in the press conferences. But for this game, he's absolutely right. It comes down to who makes less mistakes. It comes down to who can be more clutch in the end, and it comes down to which quarterback can come out and beat the team that you're trying to make the quarterback beat you. Which, I actually have a question for you, CG, because it does involve Purdy a little bit. I heard in some pregame takes that Purdy has been having limited time in preseason as far as, like the snaps go and the reps go. So, like, how much of an impact do you think that that's going to have on him for this game?
I think he's already starting to shake off the rust. I think the coaching staff are being more cautious. They're not trying to give him a lot of snaps after he's recovering from a surgery. So I think they're slowly trying to get him in. They're very confident that he's going to play this week. But I think part of getting Purdy ready for the season is to make sure he's at a full 100%. That's the main goal for the coaching staff. They want to make sure he's at 100% so they can put him out there. Or else there's no point of playing him in the season opener, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I kind of figured that was the case too, because he's coming off, what was it, UCL against Philly?
Yeah, that's a tough injury. And if it was Tommy John, it would have been a lot worse. But no,
for sure.
But UCL, there's been some positive signs of how certain players had that injury. I think Roethlisberger had that injury, if I'm mistaken.
Yeah, he suffered kind of that kind of injury. I think it was in 2015 against the Rams early in the season, but it wasn't like very. Oh no, wait, it was 2016. It was 2016 because like he suffered it against the Dolphins, but it wasn't severe enough to where he needed to miss a significant amount of time. But like the biggest thing that always kind of concerned me about the Steelers is that they tend to kind of overlook injuries a little bit because there's always some kind of misconception when you first get, when you're first diagnosed with an injury or an illness or something. And I kind of learned this the hard way, switching up gears a little bit with baseball. I kind of learned this the hard way when O'Neal Cruz got injured back on Easter, and they said that he fractured his leg and he's going to be out until August. Well, it's now early September, aka more than a month after he was supposed to return, and he still hasn't played since Easter. The thing with that is that he plateaued in his recovery because they actually gave a wrong diagnosis on what he has. But that just kind of proves what I'm saying about the Steelers. They kind of tend to overlook injuries, and they wanted to get Ben back in there after he was making enough progress to come in because we were struggling at the time. We were on a losing streak, and Ben always gave us the best chance at winning. And when he came back the week after the bye, there was a lot of rust that he needed to shake off, and that's why he played poorly in that week against the Ravens, I believe it was. So definitely, I think I don't think it's too much of a concern for Brock Purdy because he's had a full offseason to recover.
Yep.
It's, Shanahan knows the situation at hand. He's a smart football coach. He's a smart-minded guy. He works well with quarterbacks. I don't think it's going to be much of a concern.
I don't think so either because he's been cautious with them. Like, he hasn't been rushing them out there when he's like fully clear. They've been kind of like slowly progress with him. So they got him some snaps in the preseason to get him in shape with the offense and all that stuff. So there's a good sign there. I mean, I can see why they're saying it's deloading because, one, he's trying to get back into throwing the ball. And he's coming off the injury, so that, of course, that's going to take time. But the Niners have been wise on resting them, so it's not going to affect them going into the season as far as I'm concerned.
Bobby has a question for you, CG.
Yeah,
Are you concerned about CMC's injury history?
I do love this question because under Shanahan's coaching staff, like under what Shanahan does, a lot of the injuries do come at running backs, and McCaffrey is no stranger to injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Can he limit the touches with McCaffrey and actually get Elijah Mitchell? Then I wouldn't feel too concerned. But it is a concern if you give McCaffrey so many carries because in Carolina, he couldn't stay healthy most of the time. So is it concerning as far as our running backs? If we can find ways to do a running back by committee, then I feel more confident with McCaffrey being our back too. But that is a question mark.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know the full story about CMC's injury history because I pretty much just, go by what, it's said on the highlights or I see it on the ticker on my phone when it comes to the NFL app or ESPN, whichever comes first with it. But I think it kind of has a lot to do with the type of scheme that Carolina was running because it seems like ever since he went to San Francisco, it really hasn't. We haven't seen any headlines of CMC's out for so and so weeks with so and so injury. So like with me, I think it has more to do with scheming down and with location. Because it seemed like when he was with the Panthers, he was the main guy. He was the headliner. He was getting all the touches. Carolina wasn't using any of their depth. And that's a reflection of coaching. That's why Matt Rule got so ridiculed. Yeah, that's why Matt Rule got so ridiculed down there, and that's why they ultimately ended up firing him for the guy that, for the millionth time, I wanted us to hire as our OC, Frank Reich. And now that he's with San Francisco, where, they have a QB-friendly system, but Shanahan also knows how to use his running back depth to his advantage. I think CMC has definitely revitalized his career, and I don't think that injuries are going to be a big enough concern for him unless it's like something major.
I mean, it is a little concerning because you have to look at the past and see what he's done. But maybe you're right. Maybe in a change of scenery, maybe the way we're using him, maybe it's not going to be as bad as everybody says. I mean, because in Carolina, he had to be the guy. Yep. He doesn't have to be the guy in San Francisco. He just has to do his job. That's it.
Yeah, and, your offense is significantly better with him in it. And, last year the Niners were putting up close to 30 points a game when he was playing. Yeah, so it's like, he's an important piece to your offense. But like you said, he doesn't have to be the guy, For every person that says, CMC's the best guy on the 49ers, then there's another guy that says, no, George Kittle's the catalyst.
Or Debo.
And then for every guy that says George Kittle, well, what about Debo Samuel? Well,
what about Ayuk?
You see what I'm saying here? Like the Niners have so much continuity on their offense to where it's like they don't have that one big superstar on offense where they have whereas to them they have just like a bunch of playmakers on their offense.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at how Shanahan runs the system. I don't think it matters who we got at running back as long as they fit our system. Just like how Mark Lancaster said it best. His dad invented the cut blocking schemes in Denver, which you've seen a lot of these late round guys become stars like Terrell Davis. The rest is history. The guy was a 6th round pick from Georgia, and he became a stud under Shanahan, like Mike Shanahan's offense. So I think when you look at the track record, Raheem Mostert, who was Raheem Mostert? He was cut from so many teams, and we made this guy a stud. Who's Matt Breida? He wasn't much after he left. I mean, you look at Jeff Wilson. What is he then? Not so much. Like, you look at how Shanahan fits the schemes for all these players. They play up to the strength, which is a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. Bobby says, Mac, fill in the blank. Kenny Pickett is a top blank QB. It's kind of hard to say right now because this is his first full season. But if we're talking about the AFC in general, I'd say Kenny Pickett is probably – that's tough, actually. I'd put him no lower than about 12 as far as the AFC goes because, like I said, it's hard to determine. Because the AFC QB roster is just loaded. I mean, you got Mahomes, you got Allen, you got Burrow, you got Tua, you got Justin Herbert, you got Lamar, you got Deshaun Watson. I mean, that's already 6 or 7 quarterbacks right now. I guess you can throw Russell Wilson in there, and now Aaron Rodgers. So, that's at least 8 quarterbacks that are better than him right now. But the thing is, you got to know those are all experienced and veteran quarterbacks in the league, where Kenny Pickett's just entering his sophomore season. So yeah. I think it's fair as far as the AFC goes right now. I would put Kenny Pickett no lower than about 11 or 12 in the AFC. In the league, I think I still have to determine that.
No, in the lead, he'd probably be a 20.
Yeah, I think that for right now, I think that's fair.
Yeah, because you got to see more. I could understand why the league would want to rank Brock as 32 because, hey, he's unproven. He had a great rookie season. Let's see if he's the real deal. Maybe this is something to motivate him for. But, if we're looking at rankings at quarterbacks, man, that's just tough. NFC, I don't think it's that big of a deal, like everybody says this year. It's not that quarterback stack, it doesn't compare nowhere near the Mahomes level. You have the Jalen Hurts, the Dak Prescotts, the Kirk Cousins, the Derek Carrs, but I don't know, bro. It's not that deep, so – I think Brock Purdy would at least, if he gets better throughout the season, I could see him maybe in the top 5, maybe almost top, barely number 7 or 8 in the rankings, because I think the quarterback in the NFC are not that deep.
No, it kind of has lost its luster.
Yeah, since Rodgers is traded, since Rodgers and since Rodgers left, and quite a few other quarterbacks, it's just not the same.
Yeah, that's I definitely agree with that. And lady says here, Kenny Pickett as of right now is 22nd in the league. Is that official?
Well, it's based by how they look at the performance. They're just looking at the rookie stats. That's all. But I think it'll change later in the season.
Yeah, definitely, it will. All right, well, right on, man. We have reached the 90-minute mark. I know that you got a big talk with Levon Kirkland coming up, and hopefully you guys enjoyed our collab right here. This was a lot of fun here, man. I had a blast doing this. Obviously, tomorrow I'm not going to be streaming the game tomorrow because I'm going to be I'm going to be at my buddy's watch party tomorrow for the game. But you know what? Let's squeeze this last question in from Bobby because we're still under it. He says the QB prices nowadays are stupid high. Is Purdy worth a long-term investment?
Well, if Purdy takes the discount in the long term, then it is worth it. If he pans out to be exactly what he could be for Shanahan, then yeah, dude, why are you going to go pay so big on a quarterback, bro? when you can build off of a team. Like the Niners are trying to go the old school way. Who wants to pay so much for a franchise quarterback when you can get a quarterback on a rookie deal? It's not like you're going to pay him like the $50 million or something like that. I mean, yeah. And Brock Purdy, bro, Brock Purdy is playing with pennies, bro. Like it's like Dollar Tree money for this guy. Like, would you rather invest a quarterback who's going to hurt your cap space? Like you got Josh Allen, you got Joe Burrow, who's actually taking a load of the money. I mean, if Brock Purdy pans out the next few years, then he might be earning the money, but I don't think he's going to take the top dollars. I don't think he's going to skyrocket the market value, bro. I think he's going to be a bargain in the long haul if he pans out. You know what I mean?
I am so glad you just talked about Joe Burrow because he just got extended.
Yeah.
Here's the thing with that. I think giving a massive extension or contract to quarterbacks nowadays is so overrated.
Yeah.
Because and the Bengals are a good example. They're a talented team. I'll admit that. They're a talented team. But with Bengals fans saying, yeah, Burrow's going to take less money, so that way he's going to take a team-friendly deal. We can keep our entire core for the future. That's fake news. He is now the highest paid player in the NFL because of that extension that he just got. You better hope and pray that Burrow can be worth that kind of money, because if not, you're looking at a blow-up job in the next couple of years or so because they wanted to keep T. Higgins. Now they're going to have less cap. They're going to have less cap space to maneuver around that. Deshaun Watson's another example as well. The Browns mortgaged their entire
future with the quarterback.
Yeah.
And that's the problem right there is I might not like Shanahan's approach, but he wants to go with a quarterback on a rookie deal. And that may sound like, oh, that's not going to win you Super Bowls. But if it works out in the long term, and if Brock Purdy becomes better than expected, and if he takes a friendly contract, bro, what would you rather take? A guy who's going to hold up your team financially, or you rather get a quarterback who can take a team-friendly deal down the road and actually build your team for the long haul?
The latter for sure. Because that's what Tom Brady's entire career was. He took less money his entire career. People always wonder, how did the Patriots do it? How did the Buccaneers do it?
Team friendly.
Brady took less money his entire career so that the Patriots could get more talent around him, and that's why they won six Super Bowls with Brady. That's why he won a chip down in Tampa Bay. Yeah. I would take the latter any day of the week.
Yeah, and to give Tom Brady his credit and his flowers, bro, there's not a lot of quarterbacks who would do that. Like, this guy cares about winning Super Bowls, and that's what you should care about. There's nothing different. Like, if this man wants to win championships, you have to sacrifice the money a little bit just to get where you want to go. Yeah. Oh, see, that's what I like about this. Is what I like about Beantown, bro. I gotta get this dude on my show at some point, man. See, I like his football knowledge. Like Trent Dilfer, bro. You want to if the Ravens won with Trent Dilfer, and if the Buccaneers won with Brad Johnson. I mean, the Eagles won with Nick Foles. Was Nick Foles any special? No.
We made it to one with Neil O'Donnell.
You did.
Mentioning his name in Pittsburgh should be like a federal crime.
Oh, man.
But man. Like, I know that you got to talk with Levon Kirkland coming up. I just wanted to squeeze that last question in with Bobby real quick, but it's always a pleasure, man. This was long overdue. We finally chopped out time to do it, and may the best team win tomorrow, man.
Yeah, may the best team win tomorrow. I'm not going to overlook you guys, and it's just going to be a really good game.
Absolutely. And for those, once again, if you haven't already, go sub up to CG Ruthless. I have his link posted in the box below, and his link is also in the title of this video. And I hope you guys enjoyed our collab right here. Can't wait for football, man. It's finally back. And this is Mac checking on out for the day. I'll see you all tomorrow on my post game, and I'll see you later. Have a good one. Peace.
Peace.